Catholicism. Oh, that one got blocked again. I'm trying to say words that are getting blocked. I tried to use the word the other day, Catholics, but as Catholicism, kind of like Christianity as Christians, and it got blocked. Now, I know how to pronounce these words, and I've pronounced them hundreds of times before. The problem is not that I am forgetting the word or I'm not able to pronounce the word. Like maybe a child can't say lobster, so they say lobber. That was me during childhood as I learned how to speak. But that is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about pronouncing the word lobster for 10 years straight and then having it blocked when you try to say the lobster's in the pot. You go, the, the, the goddamn giant crayfish is in the pot. And you can't say the word. No matter you know in your head you're saying lobster, you're trying to get it out. This happens all the time. But because there's stupid people in this world who don't talk to the patient, who don't try to understand things, they just make delusions and make assumptions up. And they come up with fantasies. And then they make more assumptions and more assumptions to try to justify their first assumption. But that's not the case here. I know that when I am speaking and I'm trying to say the word Catholicism, but it still isn't coming out quite right. I said it way better an hour ago, and obviously, when I was about 18, I said it perfectly. At 19, I said it perfectly. And at the age of about 16, well, I could say it perfectly. And at the age of 15, I just learned how to pronounce the word. But now I'm age 31, and I wasn't able to say it the other day. Even though I could say it in my mind, it would not come out. And I had to use a different word to describe what I was describing. This happens a lot for me. And because these seizures and my neurological disorder still isn't being treated, because my father continues to think that keeping secrets and not talking to his son, or not getting any understanding, or not doing anything to try to improve the life quality that he has made for me. I mean, if I had my education that I needed for those 3 years, things would be better for me right now. If I had a piece of paper describing some of the illnesses I had through childhood, things would be better for me right now. If I could drive, I could sleep in my car on the way to a warmer state, things would be better for me right now. If I had documentation of my injuries or Social Security, things would be better for me right now. If I had documentation of my injuries, my work and shelters and everything would have been better for me now, future, and before. But it's been a struggle every single day for 25 years, only because my father and mother want to make bad choices. It doesn't have to be a struggle. I could easily be on Social Security, have paperwork on my disabilities, and be at work right now driving a car. But those require my mother and father making better decisions during my childhood. That can't be that can't be changed. They made bad decisions. I can't change that. But I go to the doctor now and I'm honest with the doctors. That is a good. That is a good step. But first we got to get my father to stop working against me when the doctors call. That's a big problem. Also, if I want to drive, again, I got to get the doctors to give me documentation, so I got to go to the doctors. Another problem is if the doctors have been weaponized, or if they think that this is too confusing for them, then I need to find another doctor willing to work with me. Well, that requires transportation. Another hard one. I also have $0, so I have to do all this living in a tree. So again, really difficult, and I'll have to bear through living in a tree and trying to transport myself and freezing to death and coming back to life and then trying to make my way to the doctors again and again and again. I'll probably die in the process. The reason why I have to get injured, die, and suffer so much is because my mother and father set it up this way. Normally, people set up for their kids to be on Social Security or they've handled their health care. But my parents set it up so that they could have a good vacation and sell some property. They weren't setting up a future for me. They were setting up themselves. They were setting up their own retirements, their own futures, their own vacations. They had no concern that I just fell during the fireworks to the ground. They had no concern that I was OD'd on a pile of newspapers and I might die that night. They had no concern that their child just spoke up to the doctor about something that very clearly sounds like an overdose, and he says he's suffering from it and he's sucking on his skin. They had no concern about that. Instead, they were concerned about self harming and made up fantasies that my mother was just having in her head. My son is sucking on his skin after I just OD'd him. So I'm going to talk about self harming and throw everybody off what's going on here. And then when finally the teachers and doctors are starting to figure out what's going on with your son, instead of moving forward with the people that are realizing that something is wrong with your son's body and physical health, you drop all doctors, drop all teachers, and move me to Texas. So, yeah, I have a lot of difficulty, and the head injuries don't help. And the neurological disorder doesn't help. And the fact that I am not getting proper medical care doesn't help. And the fact that I can't drive doesn't help. And the fact that I have $0 doesn't help. And the fact that my father has set this up into this way doesn't help. But at least I'm helping myself and doing the right things. I can make good choices. That doesn't mean I get to stay alive. It doesn't mean I ever get to work. It doesn't mean that I'll be able to drive a car. But what it does mean is that I'm making the right choices, and the only way I'll be going to prison is if somebody just decides to frame me and I can't get a good attorney. Well, they're not really framing me. Maybe somebody just blames their shit on me. I've seen this many times before from people. It's pretty bad that people think this is okay in society. They do something wrong. No, he did it over there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty bad, and people jump to conclusions very quickly. I've seen this happen very often, not only to me, on television, on the news, where one person comes up with some stupid idiot logic that makes absolutely no sense when you put it to practice. But then everybody goes, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great idea. I'll give you an example of the fool's logic I'm trying to talk about. Now, I'm sure that if we quickly had a discussion, my father and my mother would have jumped right on the side of this 84-year-old sex offender that's completely senile. I'm absolutely sure my father and mother, if they asked him if this was a good idea, they would say, of course it is. Of course it's a good idea. We don't want his stuff getting stolen. But then when you put it into practice, it's very clearly the stupidest frickin' thing you ever heard. And I had a good answer for the person that I was with at that time. Now, I used to stay over once in a while if I was asked, and I had my mailing address there, so technically it was my address. But I was couch surfing at 5 different places, and I had a shelter as a backup. But at this person's house, they decided to buy me a jacket for winter because I'm always cold, I'm always having seizures, I'm always getting injured. So everybody always wants to get me a jacket or a heater or something like that. I get a lot of that during winter, except for from my family, my mother and father, or my, I should say, my at that time, my father and my father's wife. I was about to have my toes amputated. They needed me to stay off my feet, but it was impossible because I was living outside in the woods. So on the fourth trip to the emergency room, they made it very clear that if I came back, they were actually, sorry, the third trip. The third trip to the emergency room, they said if I came back, it would be an amputation. And the color changes very clearly. Well, yeah, I was going to get amputated. All because I had no shoes, no boots, no protection. I was walking through snowbanks and snow with nothing more than a fishnet pair of sneakers and another pair of sandals. That's all I owned. So they were meant to be like water shoes. You know those water shoes you wear in the water? They were like that, like fishnet. Like they have no protection from snow or water. And I was walking in these for about 3 months, and it was a really bad year. There was lots of snow, lots of ice, rain, snow, just week after week. It was just really bad time to not have footwear. So I asked and made a phone call if they could help me. I had no jobs would take me. I put in applications to everywhere in the city. I've gone to every place to live. I've tried to stay at the shelter, but my disability has disqualified me from staying at the shelter. They made that very clear. Until I have documentation from a doctor, don't come back. But I don't know what the fuck is going on, so I'm just drinking to make it better. But then I can't stay in the shelter if I'm drinking either. So I either can't stay in the shelter because I have a neurological disorder, or I drink to treat the neurological disorder, and then I can't stay because I'm drinking. So it's a whammy. Even if I'm sober, I still am fucked. So it's I'm sober, I'm fucked. I'm drinking, I'm fucked. I'm sober, I'm fucked. I'm drinking, I'm fucked. It doesn't matter, I'm fucked. So what happens? I end up remembering that there's a code that allows me to stay off my feet. If I have any cuts on my body, then I have to stay and get evaluated. And the evaluator takes 3 days to get there. And then, even then, a 10-day stay is usually necessary. Now, that's about time for my feet and frostbite to go away and for me to put hot packs, bandage them up. That's enough to follow doctor's orders. So, I'm going to follow doctor's orders, but to do that, I'm going to have to do something. So I take a glass bottle, I make some cuts, I go back in, I tell them that I am dying outside. You've already scraped me off the cement. There's a good chance I'm going to die tonight. And if I don't die tonight, the next night you're going to chop off my toes. So I do feel like I'm very suicidal, but only because I'm already going to die. And you guys know this. You guys have already made this clear that if I try to sleep outside at 0 degrees, I'll die. And that's exactly the only thing I'm allowed to do. Not only that, you've made it clear that if I don't get off my feet, you're going to chop off my toes. And that's all I can do is stay on my feet or they arrest me. So I cut myself with a glass bottle. It doesn't look life threatening, but I'm still suicidal. The minute I go out there, there's a good chance I'm going to die. I might not kill myself, but one way or another, I'm going to be dead. So they keep me, my feet heal. But I called a month earlier or weeks earlier to try to get shoes off my family so this wouldn't have to happen. And they rather their son lose their toes, have to cut himself, or just die in the woods than even try to help him with a pair of shoes. So maybe I could go to work and have my toes still. Instead, I had to take it into my own hands and do something rash, but luckily my big brain over here saved my toes and my life. And then by the time I got back out, the storm had passed. It took about another 6 or 7 days for all that snow and shit to pass. And then it still was snowy and wet and freezing cold. So I still froze to death, still got injured, still had a lot of problems. Um, but anyways, couch surfing, that's what I was doing. My roommate, this was after the frozen to death and the feet thing. But this is about 2 years after that, after I was having the frostbite. 2 years later, I now have connections. Everybody loves me in this town. All the businesses know me now. At first, I was losing my toes, freezing to death. But now people open up their doors to me, and they know I'm not a shelter person. Part of the problem is if you're a person that they think is staying at the shelter, they don't allow you to stay on their couch because they could get scabies or bed bugs or something. So if you're somebody who stays in the woods, you're allowed to stay at people's apartments. But if you stay in the shelter, you're not allowed to stay at people's apartments. People don't want to rent to you, and people don't want to hire you. So a lot of people, if they want to get out of being homeless, they just don't go to the shelter and they're out a month later. Yep, they just move into the woods, they get another job, and then they move into an apartment and they're out of there. But if they move into the shelter, the job doesn't take them, they get nothing. Anyway, so I'm living couch to couch. The person I have my mailing address with buys me a jacket for winter. Here's where the fool's logic comes into play. So this is Christmas. He buys me this $100 jacket that he has to make $20 payments to from Fingerhut or something like that. It's a Carhartt jacket or Dickies, but it's the same style. It's a jean jacket. I like it. I say, that's great. Thank you. I'll wear it all the time. Really heavy, heavy winter jacket. Really heavy. Like you would sweat to death indoors with this thing. It's a heavy jacket. Really nice. I say thank you. It's a great gift. Here's my gift for you. And I ended up getting him a new toaster oven and something else. I can't remember what else I got him. And I was able to pick it up at a pretty good deal off of a friend out of his apartment because he had two. So it worked out pretty well. And there was a couple other smaller gifts I got him. Anyway, so the gifts were exchanged. But then this person who's 84 says something weird and something that is fool's logic that is really stupid to do. Something that is the worst possible thing. It makes the gift meaningless and then it has no meaning. You're just being a jerk by doing this. But if you're somebody who doesn't think when they act or speak, then maybe you would agree with this. They just tell me, don't wear the jacket outside the house because people, will steal it off you because you're homeless. You got all those people who mug you and rob you, and that's such a nice jacket that they might steal the jacket. Now, it's really not that nice. It's just a work jacket. It's a construction jacket, but it's for winter. It's for construction workers who work out during winter. But anyway, so I say, sure, wait a minute. It's a winter jacket. It's not a dressy go indoors jacket. This is an outdoor jacket that only gets worn outdoors. It's not a jacket you will ever, ever wear indoors. So the person goes, don't wear it outside the house, outside my apartment. Just wear it in my apartment. So, does that make sense to everybody? You don't want the jacket to get stolen. So don't wear the jacket outside the house, okay? Just wear it inside the apartment. That's it. Okay, so you bought a nice, beautiful, heavy duty winter jacket for snowstorms for your best friend, and you tell him that wear it inside your apartment because you don't want it to get stolen. Does that make sense to everybody? Is that a good plan right there? Is that good? Is that a good idea? Like maybe telling your son, buying him a new pair of boots and telling him not to wear the boots in the program because they might get stolen, but then he's always at the program. Is this rhetoric might have a flaw here someplace? Is it might not work in practice? I'll tell you what I responded with. I said, okay, I'll do that. But first, if you're going to give me a gift like this that I got to keep inside the house, we're going to need a nice picture frame. Get me a picture frame so we can hang the jacket on the wall. And he goes, why do we need a picture frame for the jacket? I told him, well, if I can't wear it outside, and it's a winter jacket that you'll never wear inside, and so I can't wear it outside, and I can't wear it inside, then it's no good for me to be wearing it, and it's just going to stay in the closet. So let's make sure to frame it on the wall so when guests come over, we can tell them, hey, look at the nice jacket that my friend bought for me. Yeah, he spent good money for this jacket, and we hung it on the wall so it looks all nice and we can remind people how good my friend is. And then he laughed and said, oh, so yeah, you can't wear it inside, can you? I said, no, it's a winter jacket. I would sweat to death in that thing. It's meant for winter. Now, yes, I probably would wear it inside because I'm always cold, but no, not that. I would never wear something that bulky indoors. I would definitely have the heat on. That's what I would do. The heat would go on. You can't wear something that big indoors. You wouldn't wear it. I wouldn't wear it. Everything would be knocked over in this small apartment. You'd be telling me to take the damn thing off. And if I can't wear it outside, then what's the purpose? And he goes, that's true. If I buy you, okay, I bought you this jacket. If it gets stolen, that's on you. I say, okay, I understand that. And we came to an agreement with logic. We used real logic. We put it in the practice. And I used a joke to help with the language. But this happens a lot with old people. They come up with this fool's logic, and then they get mad at you if you tell them, okay, well, that's not going to work. Then they get mad. Well, instead, you got to tell them, well, okay, get me a picture frame so we can hang it on the wall. And then they go, why? And then their brain starts working. And I say, well, because I can't wear it indoors and we can't wear it outdoors. And I want to show everybody how good my friend is buying me a jacket. So we're going to hang this on the wall all pretty like a jersey, like those jerseys in the picture frame. And when we have guests come over, we'll tell them how good my friend is on getting me this nice jacket. That's all. And then they laugh and they understand that maybe it wasn't the best idea. And that's fine. But see, this fool's selfish logic gets bad. And not only that, the jacket was given away anyways, not by me, and then stolen. So it doesn't even really add up in the end because people do whatever the hell they want.